disclaimer. Do not watch this video if you don't like talking about or seeing blood, okay? Because you're gonna see some blood. It's gonna be my blood, and I'm gonna talk about it a lot. Blood, blood, blood. If that bothers you, don't keep watching. Blood, 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 blood. Stop watching if it bothers you, okay? I'm not here to get reported or to get someone who's butthurt being like, oh, you're disgusting and showing gore on YouTube. Look, I am talking about my art. There are a lot of much grosser things on YouTube than me talking about and painting with my blood. You're not gonna see me getting the blood. You're just gonna see me painting with it and me talking about it. So if you don't like listening to things like that, that's great. I'll see you in like a week or two because I'm not very consistent on here. And like, that's fine. I'll see you next time. It's great. Goodbye. That's fine. I don't care. But if you want to hear about some blood and why I paint with it and how I paint with it, keep on watching. Hello? Oh my god. Hello, my lovely little morning doves. Welcome back to my channel. Sorry if my voice sounds weird on and off. I've had like a slightly scratchy throat. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, this is the kind of long anticipated and kind of advertised video which I've been talking about in my last few. We're gonna talk about blood painting. Blood painting. Painting with blood. It would really mess up my camera if I were to move it, but that right there is the bottom of a frame that has a blood painting. This entire wall behind me has paintings that I have done in blood. But also I'm kind of sitting off to the side so that I can double screen here. So as soon as I start kind of answering the questions that you guys have asked, you will also be able to watch me speed paint the largest painting I have ever done, which is a tribute piece for Rick Gnest, the zombie boy. I'm gonna start answering the great questions that you guys have sent me, and also some of the questions that I've gotten a bajillion questions about this ever since I started, because it's a little weird and it's a little unusual, and people want to know what it's about. So let's get into it and let's start painting. Question number 1. Where does the blood come from? Well, it comes from me, and usually when I answer that, the second question or the second part of this first question is always, wait, so like, what kind of blood is it? It's not menstrual blood, okay? Some people do paint with their menstrual blood. That's totally fine. I think that's totally like, if that's what you want to do, it's available. It is available and it is much easier to access, I guess, except for that it's only like a once a month thing. But yeah, if people want to do that, that's fine. I personally don't like the consistency. I mean, I've never tried to paint with menstrual blood. I personally am not a fan. It's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, I'm a gross person, but that grosses me out, you know? Do you understand? It is my own personal blood. I have drawn it from my veins a couple of times, like, you know, straight in the like you were getting your blood drawn at the doctor's. Just a little disclaimer, don't do that, okay? Don't fucking do it. Any of you out there who are into, like, you want to paint with your own blood, you want to give this a go, I'm not going to be one to stop you because no one was going to stop me. Like, when you're kind of the person who is inclined to do things like that, people being like, hey, that's a bad idea, it's not going to stop you. I know because I'm that person. But be as safe as possible. Don't draw from your own veins, okay? I've done it successfully. It's successful. Successfully. And I have had no issues. I have access to very clean needles. I have access to sterile needles. I am very, very careful. I've done a lot of research. Okay, does that make it a good idea? No. Still don't do it. Like, don't fucking do it. But yes, I have. The better way to do it, the way that I would, like, if you really want to do it at home and you want to try it, just prick yourself in the finger. It's not pleasant, but, and again, clean, sterile needles. Again, I have access to sterile needles. I find that piercing needles are really good for this because they're incredibly sharp. They come sterilized. Be as clean as possible. Like, do your research about being as clean as possible if this is something that you just really feel like you want to try. Because like I said, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it. Nothing I say is going to stop you because I know myself, and nothing that anyone said was going to stop me. So, great, do it, be safe. Like, just be safe. But yes, I use the finger prick method most often, which involves stabbing myself in the cuticle. I find that my cuticles bleed best, and it is more pleasant than sticking it like into the tip of my finger. I stab myself in the cuticle with a piercing needle. Yeah, and then I just squeeze it out into a little container and I paint with it. That's where the blood comes from. Wow, that was only question 1. Number 2. Does the blood flake off after it dries? So the very simple answer to this is no, I've never had that happen before, and there's a couple of reasons for that. I use watercolor paper when I am painting in blood. So this is a very nice, it has a good texture to it, it really holds on to the material, and it also has a decent amount of absorption. So it's not like it's sitting on top where it could just be scraped off, it's absorbing into the paper. So that's like one reason why that's not an issue for me. The other reason that's not an issue is because I varnish all of my blood paintings. They have a top coat, a sealant to hold everything in the long run. So no, the blood does not flake off because it's holding onto the material and it's double coated, sealed in there, which is also great for like germs and stuff. Obviously, bacteria dies after a while, so that's not a huge concern, but especially when people are buying it, it's a good feeling to be like, it's sealed in there. It's, you know, it's not just blood and you're not just like touching it and things like that, even though it's like, it's a double sealed and framed. So I keep it like, the only way you could possibly get to the blood in my paintings, if you were to buy one from me, you would have to open it up, you would have to like soak it in water to like hydrate it through the back of the paper instead of the front, because the front is going to be sealed, and then like, I don't know, chew on it or something. Like, you'd have to do some really fucking weird shit to get to the blood in my paintings if you were to attempt to, I don't know, clone me or something. That's a question that's coming up. Spoiler alert. Question 4. How much blood do you need, and how many layers of blood do you need to hit the really dark tones? Okay, these are really good questions. How much blood do I need? Even for a painting like the one you're seeing me paint right now, which is quite large, it is 11 by 15 inches. I think I probably used no more than 4 or 5 tablespoons of blood. I did it in multiple sessions, so I didn't need all of that all at once. I work in small bits. So yeah, I dilute some of the blood with water, and that gives me my lighter tone. So I don't start off with full saturation, kind of darkness as the base tone. I go much lighter than that so that I have a wider variety to work with. So I use the lighter tones and then I build and build and build. For the really dark areas, like if the painting that you're looking at next to me right now, the eyes, the darkest point on the nose, things like that, that's 3 or 4 layers of full saturation, pure blood. Depending on, you know, and I'm talking about the darkest parts, because I do a lot of kind of variation even within the dark areas. I want even darker areas and slightly lighter areas to give you that feeling of depth. So yeah, at the most 3 or 4 layers of full blood, but that is in the places where I want it to be absolute darkest, so it doesn't count for a lot of the painting. Number 5, can you store and or save the blood for later to paint with? Probably, but I have not yet found a good way to do so. So basically, as soon as the blood hits the air, it begins to oxidize and it begins to coagulate. So usually as I'm painting, even with the purest, like non-diluted with water blood, after a few, I don't know, I'd say 10-20 minutes, I'm going to be putting a little bit of water back into that as well to rehydrate it because it begins to coagulate. I could just pull a little blood clot out of my my dish that I use to hold it because that's what blood does. That's why when you cut yourself, it only bleeds for a little while and then it stops bleeding on its own and scabs up. That's because the blood, when it hits the air, is coagulating so that you won't bleed to death. That's the nature of the beast. And then as well as that, it does also oxidize. So when you see these final pieces and you're like, well, why aren't they still blood red? It's because blood gets darker as the oxygen gets to it. So it actually usually ends in kind of a rusty brown color, not red, like what you would assume with normal blood. So can you store it and save it? You would need an anticoagulant of some sort, which I know is something that is available that you can get. I don't know how that would affect the painting of it. And yeah, you would need something to save it in. Also, as somebody who's worked with dead animals before, I know for a fact that the smell of rotten blood is about one of the grossest things ever. So I don't know how long you would want to. And being someone who is using it from my veins, it's my blood, I don't really need to save it because I'm a walking Tupperware container full of blood, okay? It's all perfectly in there. It's ready to go whenever I feel like it. I can get as much as I want and it's ready to go. 6, what do you seal it with and or preserve it? Like I said, I use a coat of Mod Podge because it is cheap, it goes a long way, and it doesn't ruin the painting as some things have. And then I just use a higher quality UV protectant top coat. What do you say to people who think it's gross? I mean, it is. I don't disagree with that. I mean, I don't believe it's gross to me, but I don't disagree with them. Like, obviously, there are a lot of people out there who don't like blood. Like, there are people who faint at the sight of blood. There's people who don't like needles. Like, obviously, people like that are gonna think I'm fucking crazy, because I have no issue with needles. I have, like, 9 piercings, and I have tattoos, and I stab myself in the cuticle with a piercing needle when I feel like painting. So I get it. I get that people aren't going to understand that completely because, like, that's fucking weird in, you know, usual normal society and stuff. Like, that's unusual. But I think that's what makes it really interesting and why I am so drawn to it, because it's not something that you're seeing everyone do. And it is a little bit controversial. People are like, hey, like, that's kind of gross, or like, well, you're hurting yourself to make a painting. And it's like, but that is part of the reason it's so special to me, because I have to decide whether or not this thing that I'm painting is literally worth the blood in my veins. So it's, you know, I'm painting things that I think are worth that. I'm not gonna just, you know, sit down willy-nilly and start doodling something out. I put thought into it and I put time into it, and then I put my literal fucking blood into it. So it makes the artwork really special to me. And if people don't really understand that, that's fine. You know, it's not for everyone and it's not for them. So that's okay. And for the people who are really interested and curious, which is the majority of people, it's really awesome because it starts a conversation and it gets them really interested and excited about the artwork, which I think is so awesome. And it's the reason that I have to do a Q&A and stuff, because people ask so many questions. My foot, oh wow, is so asleep right now. Oh, I was sitting on it to make myself taller though. Number 8, can you invoke deadites using your paintings? I don't know. I'll have to try it sometime. Number 9, and by the way, these are all from the same person, and like, good on you for having some very great questions, because these made me laugh. Number 9, if someone buys and makes a clone of you, do they own the clone? Now, I think that I don't really like this question, because assuming it's a clone of me, it is another human being. You don't own a human being, so no, they don't own the clone, nor do I. That clone is its own sentient person, and my clone is its own being, and they own themselves, you know? You can't own a person, so no. The person who bought it, even if they clone me, do they own the method that they use to clone a human being successfully? Yeah, that's some super advanced science right there, and like, good on them for figuring that out. But if my clone is walking around looking exactly like me, thinking her own thoughts, doing her own shit, she's her own woman. And as a follow up to that question, if a whole army is made of said clones, would I lead them to conquer the world? I don't see myself as much of a leadership type of person. I think I would definitely hang out with my clones. Hell yeah, we would have a great time. I think I would quite enjoy just having like a bunch of other me's to chill with. I think we'd have a lot in common. I think we get along. But no, I'm not really set on world domination. I don't. Honestly, an army of me's isn't going to get you that far anyways. I'm not exactly a heavy hitter in terms of I'm not built to be an army. I'm not, I mean, I guess with enough of anything, you've got some power in numbers. But generally speaking, I do not have the skills to really consider world domination, nor do I have the drive for such a thing. I think it would just be a real big gaggle of really fucking weird people, which would be cool. Maybe I might start my own cult that is just me's, you know? Like we could just be a cult of autumns. I like that idea. But we'd probably just like move to a compound somewhere and just, you know, chill, do our own thing, and just enjoy life. So, no world domination for me or my clones. I mean, maybe if one of my clones is evil and they decide on world domination, like the rest of my clones might have to, you know, team up against said clone. But then see, we've got the advantage because like we know how she thinks. So yeah, that is all of the kind of basic questions that I have gotten quite a lot of. Most of them are just about the process itself, but I get the clone thing now and again because you know, people wonder what if people can start cloning things, and like you've sold a bunch of your blood and it's just out there in the world, and it's like, well, it's just a risk I'm willing to take. If you are interested in seeing more of my work, more of my blood paintings, go ahead and check out my Facebook page. The link to that will be in the description below. If you want to help me make shit like this, if you want to help me, you know, keep making my artwork, my link to the Patreon, the link to my Patreon page will also be below. I really just can't thank enough the 2 people who are supporting me on there right now. Honestly, that's more than I ever would have thought to get. And I think it's just crazy that there are people who think that this weird shit that I do is worth supporting. So thank you so much to my patrons, and thank you to you guys for just being curious and asking questions. Honestly, my favorite thing ever about being an artist is people asking questions about my work and just opening up a dialogue about it. I love talking about my work and just talking about, you know, the methods and the reasons and stuff. And I think that's why I'm so drawn to doing kind of different, strange things, because it really sparks curiosity in people. And I love sparking curiosity in people and starting a dialogue about that. So thank you guys so much again for all your support, for everything. If you want to check out my social media, all of it will be in the links below in the description. The links will be in the description below. Yeah, go ahead and follow me on all those. I get back to people on everything, but Instagram and Facebook and YouTube are probably the best ways to communicate with me. I get back to people really fast. If you have any other questions, obviously I only answered like 10 here. If you have any other questions about blood art, leave it in the comments or get a hold of me on some other social media. And if you are interested in a piece of your own, I do have pieces available that are done and ready to go. And I do commissions, so if there's something that you want to see and you're like, yo, I want you to bleed for this, hit me up. I will. Yeah, I'm just gonna say I hope you all have a great week and or weekend. And I will see you in the next one, which I have no idea what that's going to be. So if you are interested in seeing anything specific from me, again, let me know. I don't really know what my next video is going to be. I haven't planned it yet. So, bye guys.